Hey, thank you so much for watching. Today, I want to talk about one of the biggest issues that we found Medicare Advantage and Medigap supplement sales professionals are facing that is suppressing your earning potential. And that's how to track your commission and retention rates by carrier, state, sales agent, and even the marketing campaign that your lead was sourced from. Now, it's of vital importance for any entrepreneur, business owner, or sales professional to know your numbers because knowing your numbers is what allows for sound decision making. It's what allows you to be the captain of your ship, the coach of your crew members, and successfully navigate your metaphorical boat through ever-changing waters. But how well do you know the most critical performance metrics of your sales staff? So let's do just a short exercise and see if you can answer a few basic questions about your business, and especially how long does it take you to get those answers. So pick any lead from within the last 30 days. Now let me ask you, how many times has that lead been contacted? Through what methods? Meaning email, text, phone, mailer? What state does the actual customer live in? And which carrier is going to hold the policy? What's their monthly premium? And who referred this customer to you, or what marketing campaign did they respond to? Can you answer all the questions in less than 30 seconds? Does it take you 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour to get the answers? Especially if you're doing it by hand? With the right infrastructure in place, and it exists, at the click of a button, you can have access to each of these answers and more in under 30 seconds. Allow me to explain. T65 Healthcare is a Medicare Advantage and Medigap insurance sales business client of ours with an extraordinary talent for lead generation, and I can't emphasize that point enough. They are incredibly talented at making the phone ring. Now, prior to us meeting them, they were employing 2 full-time administrative staffs whose only responsibility was to delegate leads to sales agents, both in the morning prior to the start of the day and live throughout the day as calls were coming in. Now, what they found was this process ended up being incredibly ineffective and terribly inefficient. But once we consolidated all of their various technology systems into one centralized CRM platform and applied automation functionality, we were able to exponentially increase the total volume of leads they were capable of facilitating by 2,316% in only 6 months. Now, we met T65 in May of 2019, and at that time they struggled to manage the 317 leads they generated that month with those 2 full-time administrative staff doing the job by hand using an out-of-the-box CRM platform. And when I say out-of-the-box, I mean one of the major names that basically you pay a flat fee, they give you licenses, you theoretically take it out of the box, and you use it as is. So it really didn't provide them the type of functionality that they necessarily needed, especially since none really existed within the Medicare Advantage and Medigap industry. But within 30 days of allowing the new technology that we were able to implement into their business process to be the machine that would do this job, they were easily facilitating over 1,000 leads in a single month. So the production value of their marketing efforts became wildly apparent, but so did the realization of how much money had been getting left on the table for years. And by October, they were easily facilitating over 7,000 leads in a single month and could easily track the status and relevant metrics for each one at the click of a button. And by the way, that 7,000 leads in a single month became their new normal. See, the problem T65 faced was they just didn't have the appropriate infrastructure to track and manage their business properly. These sorts of out-of-the-box systems don't give you all the tools you need to do the job. They bring generalized tools and generalized functionality that's designed to appeal to the masses. It doesn't drill down into everything specific to your business. If it did, they wouldn't be able to sell mass amounts of licenses to various industries. So, what we found is as a result of this issue, it's become a systemic problem that most agencies deal with, in that they're operating out of various siloed systems that don't communicate with each other harmoniously, that allows you to track that sort of business. And what I mean by that is you're making phone calls out of one system, maybe using a dialer. You're writing emails out of another. You maybe have text campaigns using a different platform, mass marketing email campaigns in another, lead management in another, lead distribution in another, payroll in another. Your entire business process is handled out of so many different systems that all require being manually tracked and reconciled against one another in order to get the answers to these 5 questions I asked at the beginning of this video. So again, it's a systemic problem we found that agencies deal with in this industry, and the corresponding result is a broken process that essentially prevents you from reaching your full earning potential. Because what it is, and it's what T65 fell into the trap of, and what you likely fell into the trap of as well, is what we call a black box sales funnel. So you throw business into one end, hoping that a closed deal comes out the other, but there's no real full understanding into what was happening in between. And what I mean by that is, how do you know the relationship between the prospect that came in the door that made the phone ring and what turns that prospect into a closed sale, no response, etc.? Do we know if there was a better response by agent? Do we know if different people responded to specific marketing campaigns or specific variables within the marketing campaign? Is it just because a specific agent failed to follow up enough because they were overwhelmed with other leads, or simply weren't able to have the accountability because they forgot or they weren't managing their process strong enough? If you don't have that information, you can't make the appropriate adjustments in order to increase conversion and improve the entire process. That's not scalable. So what T65 found out is they needed a better solution, but the CRM industry just didn't offer one that could answer the bell for their particular needs. Again, there are a lot of generalized systems that offer generalized solutions, but they needed something that could answer their particular questions and carve out their competitive advantage against their peers, to know their numbers and make the appropriate adjustments in order to get in front of these leads before their competition and increase their conversion on everyone that communicated with them with an interest in buying a policy. So what we started with is understanding how T65 sales process worked and how we could provide better tracking, in theory adding essentially what we could call a tracking beacon to every lead in order to study the life cycle of it, from when it calls in, answers an email, answers a campaign, all the way to the corresponding outcome, whether it closes, whether they never answer, etc. And that's what we're seeing in this image, and that's what T65 has access to with only one click. Ownership can view a living report that reflects the lead's information, the last agent who actually contacted the lead, the preferred time that that lead asked to be contacted versus the actual time the agent actually reached out, the method they were contacted by, meaning email, phone, text, etc., and the corresponding outcome of that particular touch point. So the first 3 of the 5 questions of our exercise, T65 now answers in less than 30 seconds. Now, what we see here is also incredibly important. This image reflects how T65 can track a handful of additional critical variables that allows them to answer question 4 in less than 30 seconds as well. So what we see in this report specifically reflects a particular day's pending sales through the carrier Mutual of Omaha. So again, you can segment based on the carriers that you work with. This particular report was for T65 looking at Mutual of Omaha. And what they can see in that day as a sales manager watching what's going on for their business is they can look at every lead, the status of the lead, the state the customer actually lives in, their date of birth, the corresponding premium, and the outcome of each. So since all these metrics are tracked, And we have this theoretical beacon that tracks the life cycle. And every time that that lead has any type of touch point or any activity associated or lack of activity associated with it, they can sort this report in any way they choose to better understand the strengths, the weaknesses, and opportunities to improve their sales process relative to the interconnected relationships between specific variables. Because what we found, and I'm sure you can agree, is lead generation is a science. And if you don't have all the information for being able to study the relationships of one input to the output, it can be a very expensive science because it costs money to test marketing campaigns in order to determine an effective strategy. We have to know the relationship and the correlation of everything in order to be able to make the adjustments that are necessary for increasing the outcome of each campaign. So in order to determine how we allocate these dollars, we have to be able to drill down into the numbers and assess what elements of a campaign worked or failed, and most importantly, why. And that's what this report allows T65's ownership to do. In less than 30 seconds, they can analyze the performance of each of their marketing campaigns by sales agent, by state, by gender of the customer, and then invest accordingly. So there's no more guesswork or subjective opinions based on observations. They make investment decisions according to the facts. So for example, if they decide they want to do an email campaign or a mailing campaign, and they send out a specific mailer to Florida, Texas, and California, they can track the responses from this mailer by sales agent. Was one sales agent more effective with a specific customer than another? Did they respond more highly from one state over another? Were they contacted enough times on each end? What was the percentage of people who didn't answer? What was the percentage of people who didn't qualify? What was the percentage that closed? And by seeing all these interconnected relationships, maybe they find California really didn't like this one advertising campaign, but Florida really did. And especially in Florida, their agents did a much better job of converting people from Florida than they did from Texas. And in understanding all that different information, they say, you know what? We should increase the investment dollars we do to Florida, and we can use the money we were allocating to California for Florida and thus increase the conversion rate and increase sales and our total profit because of having that information to make that intelligent decision. And that's because if we look at a quote from legendary management consultant Peter Drucker, who's famously saying, what gets measured gets managed. And if your business can't track and report on this type of detailed information, you're at a significant disadvantage against a person and your peers who can. The technology for achieving this goal is available. If you thought it wasn't, or your entire experience with CRM said something like this is impossible, it's not. And I have even better news for you. It's affordable. And with the right systems and infrastructure in place, reporting of your business activity becomes a byproduct of your business process instead of a standalone process in and of itself. Now, if you'd like to discuss how you can obtain this kind of live insight into the happenings of your business affordably, I would love to book a short discovery call with you by clicking the link in the information below. We can walk through your current business process, assess your current reporting capabilities against your ideal scenario, and, most importantly, review options for how to track every aspect of your business in ways you never thought possible. Now, I want to reinforce one thing. The reason we've been able to achieve this type of outcome for our clients is because we take the feedback from people like you very seriously. The whole reason our business exists, the whole reason these aspects have been built out is because we have educational and discovery conversations with leaders in the industry that tell us what CRMs they use, what it's lacking, and what they wish they could do. And many times what they wish that they could do, that they thought was impossible, is only impossible because the out-of-the-box companies, these CRMs that are designed to sell mass amounts of licenses, selling a general product, have no interest in creating a solution that's specific to your business. And that's where we've differentiated ourselves. We ask you, what do you want? And then we build it. Even if it doesn't work for any other company. And so we'd love to speak with you further. We want your feedback. We want to hear, even if it's not something that's available right now, but gives us the opportunity to enhance our service offerings that'll make you that much more successful in your Medicare Advantage and Medigap sales business, and we can earn your business in the future. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to learn how to do a better job. I appreciate you taking the time. I know how valuable it is as a manager and a salesperson, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future.